You have most likely heard the adage, the chicken or the egg. What came first, the chicken or the egg? That is something, that is a lesson that is actually applicable to podcasters. We're going to talk about it today. Podcast Growth Nation, today for episode number 193, the if-then paradox most podcasters deal with. I had a great call with somebody the other day. So this was somebody that was referred to me. So this was a potential client. But again, a breakthrough session for me. I just add value and then we kind of see what happens. So it was a 30-minute call and we were probably 20 minutes in and the person said, "Hey, so what does it look like to work with you?" Right? We like what we hear. We've heard good things. What does it take to work with you? And I went through, okay, if this is what you're looking for, boom, 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 boom. And they said what a lot of people say, understandable. They said, "Okay, we're going to circle back. Let us talk about it. We have to figure out whether or not we're able to monetize before we invest money." And I understand from a consumer standpoint, that makes total sense. From a consumer standpoint, that makes total sense. From an investor standpoint, that's where a lot of people get hung up. Now, this episode is not like a ninja goal of you to come work with me. That is not what this is. It has nothing to do with that. I have just seen this time and time and time again, and honestly, I think it's getting worse. And all I mean is there's a lot of people out there that say, "Okay, I'll start doing that when I start making money," but you'll never make money until you start doing the thing. Very easy example. If you have a free Zoom account, I don't even know if they still do this on Zoom, but if you have a free Zoom account and after 40 minutes you have to turn the meeting off and restart the meeting, I am not going to bet on you to monetize your podcast in any way. Because it's just the mindset. It's just the fundamental. It's the principle. If you're doing that, you're most likely not paying for Canva and you're not paying for Opus Clips or whatever. You're not paying for Podmatch hypothetically, right? Because you have to invest money to make money. That is the understanding that I want to talk about today. Now, it's not the same for everybody. There is risk tolerances to talk about. I'm not telling you should do it exactly the way I have. I'm not saying that at all. But I think the principle remains, okay? So a good example of this, a good visualization of this is I always go to the coffee shop. If you want to have a coffee shop, you have to buy a location or you have to lease or rent a location. And you have to buy the coffee maker and you got to buy the beans and you got to buy all the stuff. You can't really make money until you have the stuff. Now, podcasting is different. I'm not saying it's just like that. But if you're paying me to help you strategize to get more listens, therefore get opportunities for sponsorships, it should pay for itself eventually. Eventually being the key word. And it's this weird place where a lot of us get stuck where we say, okay, well, when this happens or if this happens, then I'll do this. But the linchpin to that actually happening is you potentially doing the thing. So when I move, I'll start looking for a new job. What if you finding a new job allows you to move faster? When I get in a relationship, I'll start listening to relationship books or reading relationship books. What if you reading relationship books is actually going to be the thing that helps you get into a successful relationship in the first place? I'll start learning about money when I have some. What if you learning about money actually creates the opportunity for you to get some or get more, whatever? I mean, you see the pattern. It's not always that simple. It's not always that cut and dry. It doesn't always work. I mean, that's a very honest thing too. This person, they might come work with us and it might not work. I'm not saying we get 100% of clients results 100% of the time. That doesn't happen. That's not the way it works. Nobody does. There are anomalies. There are just patterns. It doesn't always work, right? It doesn't always work. But I'm willing to bet that's keeping them stuck. They're not doing video yet. They're just doing audio. They want to do video. You're going to have to pay somebody to do that for sure, right? Maybe their current editor does it. Maybe not. You're going to have to pay somebody to do that. Cool. You're going to need teaser clips of some sort for your guests to share. You're going to have to pay somebody to do that. So that really is the problem is there's two R's when it comes to business and growth and I guess let's just say growth in general. There's resources and there's resourcefulness. Resources are what you have accessible to you. So if I give you $100 and I have $100, we have the same resources, quote unquote. Resourcefulness is what can I do with that $100 versus what can you do with that $100. Resourcefulness is tapping out, maxing out the availability you currently have. Are they doing that? I don't know. I don't know yet. How much are they actually investing in terms of resources? They're investing, I think they're investing like $300 a month currently into their podcast. If they work with us, it's going to go up. Obviously, it's not a ton, but it's going to go up. So their investment, their resources that they're putting into it are going to increase for sure. But I should be able to help them be more resourceful with it. So it has to be a net positive. But most people never get to this place. And here's the thing. And this is why a lot of people feel stuck when they jump from thing to thing to thing to thing. This is a principle, right? If I open a gym, I want people to come. Great example. I go to a gym it's a franchise, but there's only like 5 locations, I think. And a big gym just opened up down the street. A big chain. It's massive, multi-million-dollar facility. My gym is going to go out of business. Most likely. Because they're thinking to themselves, well, people are leaving. We don't want to invest in the gym. If you invested in the gym, people would probably stay and you'd probably be more successful. They're going to get bought out and they're most likely going to go out of business because they are stuck. Now, what happens if they buy another gym and do the same thing? Well, we have enough people, we're not going to invest anymore. Or there's nobody here yet, we're not going to invest anymore. It's the same thing is going to happen. So a lot of people get into this trap. They start social media and they say, okay, social media is going to be the thing. And then they don't want to invest more into it. And I'm not just saying money. I mean, time, anything. It doesn't work. Okay, I'll start a YouTube channel. That didn't work. All right, I'll start a podcast. Okay, that didn't work. I'll start streaming. Okay, that didn't work. The reason is this is a broken principle for most people. Now, I'm not saying you have to go wild and do a lot of the things that we did. I'm not saying that. When I was broke and I was trying to learn, we spent thousands of dollars traveling, and it's not because I had it. I just had credit cards that had high limits, and I had no income, so I put it all in credit cards. That is reckless. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm not saying to do that. But that is more of an investor mindset, right? That's an investor mindset. I went to a conference, and there was an opportunity to buy a course on how to make courses. It was $2,000. And I was like, I have to buy this. Because at the time, I wanted to make courses. I wanted to have podcast courses. I said, I have to buy this. So I went, I signed up for it. I put my credit card down and I paid $2,000 for this course. Luckily, a mentor of mine also bought it. And he said, just cancel yours, man. You can use mine. Luckily, because that $2,000, that was a lot of money. And I was living on credit cards. So that was just going to sit there for years and years. And I ended up going through it, making the course, and then we kind of pivoted our strategy and we decided that's not going to be a big thing for us. Eventually we'll do it, but that's never going to be like the main thing for us. But I didn't say, well, I'll wait till I make $2,000 first. Now, potentially reckless, yes. But if it's $20, maybe that's different, right? Or if it's $200 or whatever your financial situation is. If you live outside the US and at $20 is a lot of money depending on where you live, right? $2,000 is extraordinarily high depending on where you live, especially to invest into a dream that you don't know if it's going to work. So I want to make it abundantly clear. I'm not saying to be reckless. I'm not saying to do crazy shit. I'm not saying to put all your money into the thing, put all your eggs in a basket. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is if your principle is I'll do it when, I wonder if the when will never happen if you don't do it first. That's all. That's all. Just because it's very easy to start this and then realize, okay, I don't really want to put any more resources in, and I feel like I've kind of maxed out my resourcefulness. Now, that part, I don't think most people have. I don't think most people have maxed out their resourcefulness. If you're having guests on your show and you have a product and or service that is aligned with the guests you're having, you should run some sort of sales cycle and you'll probably make money. If you are a guest on other people's podcasts and you have something that could help the podcast host, I'm willing to bet if you ran some sort of, and all I mean by sales cycle is like have conversations with people and when presented with the opportunity, talk about the thing and then see what happens. I'm not saying you have to have like, a 17-step email funnel. I'm not talking about that. You'll probably make some money that way. That's resourcefulness. I think we could use that more. Here's a good one. If you have a community member who loves what you do, they love the podcast, they love being a part of it, there might be an opportunity for them to be a part of your team in exchange for coaching or something. Or whatever, right? Maybe they just want to help. Maybe they want to have the label of assistant producer, whatever. Content strategist. Now, are you going to get world-class ideas from this person? I don't know. Probably not because of the resource, but you are being super resourceful. That's great. That's great. That's a great way to start. So that's a piece of this conversation too, is you have to maximize the resources that you can, and you have to maximize the resourcefulness you have. And if you do both of those really well, I think you kind of evolve nicely. But there are some things that, look, you probably have to pay for Canva. It is what it is. You're probably going to have to pay for some sort of video editor. Whether you're using Descript or you're using whatever, CapCut, whatever you're using, you're probably going to have to invest money in that. There are certain things that are just like the cost of doing business. Imagine an actor who did not want to buy a television. Imagine a fitness competitor who did not want to have a gym membership. That some things are just the cost of doing business. So I just want to give everybody a gentle push, because a lot of us wait and say if then, and that then never comes. And then we say, oh, I'm grateful I didn't do it, because it might have come if you did the thing. This is a conversation about risk tolerance. This is a conversation about commitment. This is a conversation about strategy. I mean, it's a very complicated thing, all things considered. But would I bet on those people I talk to make money if they don't invest? No. Because if they don't know how to make it yet, time is not necessarily going to solve that problem. That's the issue. We think, well, eventually, after enough time, things will change. Time does not change things in a positive way usually, unless the strategy is right. If you just throw a seed on top of the concrete somewhere, you can let it grow, quote unquote, for as long as you want. Give it as much time as you want. Nothing's going to happen because the environment's not right. The strategy's not right. The circumstances aren't right. But if you plant that thing and you water it every day, it'll grow because everything's right. It's very similar. We aren't at the stage now where being in the game for long enough is the reason we're going to succeed at the game. We're beyond that. We're well beyond that. And I know it might be easy to say, well, Kev, you have however many thousands of episodes. It's different. It's like, yes, and that's not why we're successful as much as you think. The credibility and the perception, sure, that's super helpful. Super helpful. But that's not it. We've been trying to iterate over and over. Okay, what happens if we try this? What happens if we try this? What happens if we try this? Right? That's a really, really big piece of it. So that's all a piece of this. And then here's the other thing. I had somebody ask me recently, I don't remember who it was. They said, does it make sense for me to run ads to my podcast? And I said, I love the fact that you're thinking of resourcefulness and you are deploying your resources in a positive way. I said, honestly, no, not until you have some way to make that money back. Unless you just don't care about losing the money. But let's say it's $100 a month, hypothetically. We're going to spend $100 a month to run ads for the podcast with the goal of getting more listeners. Love it. Cool. You're going to lose the money if the listeners can't become monetized in some way. I'm not saying don't do it, but this is kind of the opposite scenario. The if then in the opposite scenario. If you want to make money, then I would wait until you have an offer. If you already have an offer, then it might make sense, right? If your offer is $100, let's say I have a course, it's $100. I run ads and I figure out and I do the math, bada bing, bada boom. It costs me $25 to get somebody to buy the course, right? That's what it costs. It costs me $25. I sell the course for $100. Every time somebody makes it, I technically make $75. That is a system that you could run forever, as long as the numbers check out. So that's an if then too. If I spend 25 and I make 100, I can do that forever. But you don't know that until you start the process, right? So you can see how it gets confusing / overwhelming. But I will say, the clients that I've worked with that are the most quote unquote successful, they are testing things. They're not committed to the thing yet, right? They're not committed to, okay, this is what I'm going to do forever. It doesn't have to be something that you do forever. We've spent a few $100s on ads in the past. Interesting, cool. Let's gather data. All right. Is it worth doing it again? Is it not? Maybe, maybe not. It's not a part of our strategy yet. There are certain things that are part of our strategy. WhatsApp is a huge part of our strategy. It's not if we have 100 people, then we'll start a WhatsApp group. That's not the way it works. It's if there is a new department that requires a WhatsApp group, we start a WhatsApp group. Doesn't matter how many people are in it. We have a book club that Alan's been doing every week for like 5 years. I don't know how many people are in it. There's probably like 100 people in it, maybe, over 5 years. So it's not if the group gets big enough, then we'll start it. That's not it. It's if there is a department that would benefit from having a WhatsApp group, we will start it and then we'll just run it. So that's a little bit different too. So what's the takeaway for you? I guess it depends. It depends. Are you hinging on something to get done based on something else getting done first when you might need that door to open first? I don't know. It's a very unique situation depending on the person. I don't know. I can't tell you that you offloading editing is going to make you money. I don't know. I have no idea. It depends. Running ads will make you money. It depends. It all depends. It all depends. But I think testing it is worth it. I do. And I think there are some things that's just like unrealistic. It might be unrealistic to expect to make money if you're not putting in some in. It might be unrealistic. Now, I know people that can put in thousands of dollars that aren't making money. That's a part of it too. All right. So maybe their strategy should change. Everybody's strategy is changing every day. It's just a matter of whether or not that strategy is ultimately getting you to the goal. I think that's an important conversation to have with yourself. And it goes back to commitment. If you want to be more successful than most podcasters, you're going to have to do things most podcasters don't do. And now, most podcasters are doing more than they used to because the competition is higher, the barrier to entry is lower, things are more democratized, so everybody has access to AI for the most part in some way, shape, or form. Google has it for free. If you Google something, AI pops up often, right? So everybody has an opportunity on a similar playing field. So the playing field has risen. Just the baseline, you walk in the stadium and these are the tools you're given, has kind of risen. Maybe not everywhere in the world, right? I don't know. I'm not tapped into what's happening in other countries. I'm not 100% sure. But let's just say for the US-based people out there, that means that it's going to take you doing something even more different. So it used to be different to have teaser clips. It is not different. Everybody does it. Everybody can do it, quote unquote, with a couple pieces of equipment, software, apps. Okay, that's not it anymore. It used to be only certain people could get guests. That's gone. Everybody can get guests with some apps, with some software. Okay, what can we do that's different? That's the conversation forever. And with AI, the bare minimum is going to get higher, and then you're going to have to do more. And the bare minimum is going to get higher, and then you're going to have to do more. I'm working on stuff behind the scenes right now for clients that is a response to AI and understanding that a lot of people in the next 5 years, audio editing and video editing, you're probably not going to need somebody to do it. There will always be people that I think will pay because they just would rather make the problem go away than deal with it themselves. But ChatGPT can help you with strategy, but it cannot keep you accountable yet. I'm sure it'll be able to in the beginning. So I'm already trying to think, okay, what can I do with our resources to be more resourceful, to add more value? Trying to predict what the future is going to hold. Easier said than done. All right, cool. If you need help with any of this stuff, if you want a second set of eyes, maybe a different strategy, maybe to know what's working for real people in the real world, I will have my link below for a free 30-minute podcast breakthrough session. And I hope that you're investing. I do. I hope that you're investing. I do. It's not a guarantee that it works. It's not a guarantee. But the likelihood of you winning without investing is much lower. It's much, much lower. There's stories, of course, of people who have done it, for sure. But there's also stories of people who were able to invest from the very beginning, who won at very, very high levels. Now, I'm not saying we all have the same opportunity, but the principle remains. So I hope you're doing that. All right, cool. Until next week, keep on crushing it, keep on podcasting, and I will talk to you all